They balled out this year, and we're going to need them to ball out one more time as Oklahoma is going to head to the bowl game. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Hey, we're about 275 subscribers from 10,000. So make sure you go hit that subscribe button over on YouTube and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Tell a friend, tell a family member. It is the season of giving. Give your family and friends Locked On Sooners.
A free subscription too.
A free subscription to Locked On Sooners. Just send them the link. Promo code Locked On Sooners. But no, Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners will be heading to the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas, my stomping grounds, to play at Amon G. Carter Stadium, home of the TCU Horned Frogs, against the Navy Midshipmen.
I was a little surprised when I saw it. I was wondering, is between that, the Birmingham Bowl and the Independence Bowl were probably the three that got the most attention that everybody was wondering about. And then whenever the SEC basic what's funny is, as the bowl games were being announced, the SEC put out a statement, and I think this was kind of funny. Greg Sankey basically was in there like, look, I'm going to put my foot down and said, nothing's official unless it's tweeted by us or the actual school. So all the leaks, they're like, ignore them. And I'm like, all right. So in other words, the leaks are true. So that's what you're basically telling me. We'll go with that. And so I looked at Action Network and saw that they had us match up against Navy. I'm like, okay, it's going to be fascinating. And Action Network actually had us like a 14-point favorite was their initial one or whatnot. And I think ESPN's SP Plus by Bill Connolly had us like a 9 or 10-point favorite. So they're thinking this spread is actually great value. So kind of fascinating, but Navy runs the ball. They're one of the top running teams in the country, and they don't pass the ball. So we're going to see just how physical and how disciplined our defense is going up against them in Fort Worth.
It makes me wonder if some of the sports books have a pretty good leaning on if Danny Stutzman's going to play.
That's a good question.
Because
that's what I'm curious about.
I would feel much more comfortable about Oklahoma minus 10 or even 7.5 if I felt like Danny Stutzman was going to play. Because what you're going to have here is one of the best rushing offenses in the country statistically in Navy, averaging 247.4, average 5.4 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns per game, running the ball against Oklahoma's defense, which averages just over 100 yards allowed running the ball per game. So it's going to be a really good battle of strengths on that front. And if Oklahoma's offense or defense is able to shut down Navy's offense, I say if, they should be able to, given who they have on the interior defensive line at linebacker. Should be a pretty good game. Run a little bear front. It'd be kind of fun. If they're able to slow it down, then I think Oklahoma's offense should be able to do enough against Navy's defense to get a touchdown lead at some point.
Yeah, we're going to have to run a bear front if we're going to win this game. That's literally all you're going to do.
That'd be
big defensive lineman on the ground. And you need to make sure that the shiftiness that they do, that they don't surprise you with anything that's going on. And you need a linebacker, Kip, Kobe, Kanik, Carter. Somebody needs to find that hole and plug it every time they try to run the ball. So it's going to be an interesting test for the defense.
It's going to be a fun one.
It's going to be a fun one. It actually is, because the last 2 times we played against the armed services, I think it was like Air Force in the 90s, and I remember the Army game that we had. We were supposed to play them in 2020, but COVID, so that actually ended up, that game did not happen. But the other one before that, it was 28-21? And it was mainly because Army was pulling what Vanderbilt did against Alabama. They literally had the ball for like 40 minutes of the game. Right. And so your defense is just playing nonstop literal defense. Yeah. We're going to have to find ways to get them off the field, and then we need to be the ones running the ball like that. Xavier Robinson needs to get 200 yards rushing in this game. Shoot, Michael Hawkins needs to throw for 200 yards in this game. Get some short passes across the middle, get some short passes going. We're going to have to figure out. The only thing good for us going into this game is that, truth be told, Navy's not going to have any film on us on offense. They're not. Except for Xavier Robinson running the ball and Taylor Tatum running the ball, they have zero film. because we have no clue what the past game's going to look
Right,
like.
exactly. You're the more talented
So
team.
awful.
You're the more talented team. Now, whether you're going to be the better coached team on offense versus Navy's defense, that'll be the question. Your defense should be able to do enough to slow down Navy's offense with what you got along the defensive line, what you have at linebacker. I think they should be able to do enough. You've got a tackling corner in Eli Bowen. The other side, hopefully they're up to snuff and they're ready and willing to tackle with some discipline. But it should. I think it's going to be fun, at least. Hopefully Navy comes up with some good uniforms for the Armed Forces Bowl, like those military academies have been doing in recent years. They've put together some really good fits. So I think it could be a really good classic matchup. But the only time that they've ever played before, in 1965, Oklahoma got the 10-0 shutout loss to Navy.
Avenge.
Yeah.
We're the Avengers. We're going to avenge.
There are not very many teams that hold a 1-0 record lead against Oklahoma. So you got to get this one. Yeah,
that is true.
Who knows the next time that you're going to be able to play Navy again?
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a good question because I actually cannot think of a single time where we would actually play Navy again.
Exactly.
Besides,
so go get this dub. Finish the season with a winning record. And, I mean, not that matters, but it kind of matters. 7-6 looks better than 6-7. So,
100%.
Any thoughts on the college football playoff, Jay?
I thought it was fascinating how everybody was losing their minds because Alabama didn't get in there. And, of course, we're talking about Alabama because Alabama is one of those teams that they're the most polarizing one. They've had the most success over the last 20 years. And, yeah, you hear about them a lot. And so the fans and everyone freaking out, their AD, everybody's basically coming out saying, well, I mean, if this is what the playoff committee is going to do, we don't need to be playing any type of non-conference games that's going to be an issue for us. And this is what I found fascinating by it, John. You're looking at hypothetical games, things that are coming in the future, and you're already expecting yourself to lose. So you're basically saying you're going to lose your non-conference games, and that's going to cost you a playoff berth, without realizing that the reason why you didn't make the playoffs is you lost your regular season games.
Yeah.
Like Alabama losing to Oklahoma in Oklahoma, that hurt them. Now, the only thing that helped them is that both of their losses to 6-6 teams, Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, were on the road. It looks a heck of a lot better than Ole Miss getting throttled by Kentucky at their home. Mm-hmm. So you've got arguments here and there. South Carolina's argument with, the LSU game, that was, BS. You got 2 pick sixes called back. So there's a lot of pieces that can be thrown in the air. But if anything, I think that teams need to play more non-conference games and play better ones. So that if you lose 3 conference games again, remember conference games, ones you're supposed to play, you have a better argument to say, look, but we destroyed, like Georgia, we destroyed Clemson first game of the season. Granted, teams get better as the season goes on, but hey, they destroyed Clemson first game of the season. They had a great argument to say, win or lose, we need to be in. Mm-hmm. You maybe need one of those. That'll help.
Well, you look at it from a Texas standpoint. They were a 2-loss team. Everybody pretty much agrees they didn't play anybody this year, but they're in because they only lost twice.
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to. Now, it's not completely Texas's fault that Michigan was bum, that Oklahoma was terrible, and that A&M tripped up down the stretch and no longer was a ranked team when they got a chance to play the Aggies. So it's not entirely Texas's fault that they have, quote unquote, no ranked wins. It's just the Michigan, the quote unquote defending national champion, was terrible this year. Oklahoma was not good this year. And then Texas A&M was fake. It was a fake good team.
Yeah.
And so is Texas good? Who knows? We'll find out. But if you're Alabama, it's simple. Don't lose to Vanderbilt. Don't come off of a big win against Georgia and then lose to Vanderbilt. Don't lose to Oklahoma when you're 2 touchdown favorites and then lose by 3 touchdowns. Just don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it to yourself.
You have nobody to blame but yourself. If you're Ole Miss, don't lose to Kentucky at home. Don't lose to Florida to close the season. You're fine. If you win one of those games, you're probably in the playoff.
Just one. That's all it
If you
takes.
win one of them, and you didn't, I never in my life would have thought Alabama fans would act scared of playing tough non-conference or cry so much about how they deserve to be in the playoff after losing 3 games. It is baffling to me.
It's amazing.
It would be one thing if Alabama had lost to 3 top 10 teams along the way, and they were, or even if they had just lost 3 top 10 games. Fine. You have a great argument. You're still a really good team if you have that record and you had 3 top 10 losses. But when you lose 3 times, you don't really have a whole lot of room to stand. You don't have a leg to stand on. If you're South Carolina, yeah, you got screwed against LSU, but you also lost to Bama and Ole Miss. So you don't really have much of a leg to stand on because they can't put you in and leave 2 teams that beat you out. It's just kind of the way it goes. So listen, it's complicated. Everybody hates the committee. Everybody thinks it's a mistake, but I think they got this right. And I know because we're now part of the SEC, we're supposed to be SEC homers, but miss me with that.
No,
the only SEC teams that quote unquote deserve to be in was Georgia, your SEC champion, Texas, who played for the SEC championship, and Tennessee, who beat Alabama. And I mean, listen, they had a really good season. So that's it. Everybody else, you're done. Go home. Cry to your mom.
Yeah, because Tennessee's what, 10-2?
10-2.
Or are they 9-3? They're 10-2. Yeah, you went 10-2. So you won 10 games.
And they beat Alabama.
I think winning double-digit games is critical to get you into the playoffs.
Yep.
And if you do that, you're probably going to be in. Not very many teams that won double-digit didn't make it except for your Big 12 runner-up as well as BYU, who was the other 10-win team. Not very many 10-win teams did not get in there.
Nope.
But, I mean, Army, they kind of got overlooked. Memphis as well at 10-2 got overlooked. But Miami, you had a few of them out there, but I think they got it right. SMU played in the ACC championship game. They deserve to be in there. And that game came down to a game-winning field goal.
Yes.
We thought it was going to be a blowout initially. They game-winning field goal, so.
And that's a fun team, actually. So that's going to be really fun. We'll have to.
They went undefeated in conference.
Yep. We'll have to talk to some of the matchups at some point too, because Kevin Jennings versus Drew Aller. That's gonna be a good time. Like that.
Good time.
That game could cook up the scoreboard as well. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button over there and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Again, just $275 from 10,000. So help us out. Hit that subscribe button. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Also go check out his channel on YouTube, Unfair Sports. Follow me at John 9 Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer.
Sooner.